so you figured out some economics by studying algebra with your daughter, unbalanced equation, the whole system. So, and I don't know if you're talking about because everything is kind of tied together, is like that's why I love this triangle, because everything is a cohesive system, and it's once you see the big picture of everything, how it all flows, like it's a pretty good system to an extent. Now there are a lot of agencies that stepping out of their bounds and authority sometimes, because nobody's taught basically how anything works, so they're all just. And I have literally done this. I have walked through a corporation and talked to people, and they don't even know how to do their job. And it's like, how in the world is this company even running properly? I know how to do your job more than you. Like, this is crazy, and I'm not even in your department. Like, asking basic questions, and they have no idea. And the same thing happened when I talked to somebody about psychology, because the brain, in the public, they aren't taught anything about like spiritual stuff, or how matter really is pushed by spiritual, the substance. They're all taught about the form. So I thought it was interesting when I was talking to somebody about psychology, because when you're talking about brain and spiritual, it's like trying to understand the dream world. Like it's a whole nother realm, whole nother reality, whole nother set of experiences and stuff that it's definitely you aren't getting licensed for, because they don't teach any of that stuff. Metatron. Fractional reserve system grabs from the future, my future, to create a token car. When the loan is paid back, they keep the created money instead of balancing the equation. So if you've ever studied basic accounting principles, there's the T chart, there's a double entry. There's always the banks have to balance the books at the end of the day, always. However, on the private side, they do fractionalize. So when you get a car, if you're getting a loan, you give them the signature on the promissory note. Then the CFO signs the back of it, and then deposits it, and then creates the funds off of it. Then they turn around and try to define you as a borrower, even though you're not the borrower. You were actually the original issuer on the account of the funds. Same thing happens with a check. When you write a check, you're the authorized representative of the U.S. citizen. You are creating the funds out in the public. And there's a private side to it. Everything is double entry. So banks are authorized to do things, but they have to balance the books at the end of every day. And they loan out a lot of the funds that we create, and then they fractionalize everything that we depose. When you deposit something, it's called deposing. You are deposing yourself of something when you deposit something. So when you depose yourself of funds to the bank, that they can do whatever they really want with it, and that's why they don't have to give you your funds back. And if everybody tried to get their funds out of the bank at one time, it would basically collapse the bank, because they don't keep what is it, like 5% of actual fiat currency on reserve of what they're loaning out. I think that's the percent. I have to look it up. The banking laws change all the time, so it's hard to keep on track of all that stuff. So, but yeah, they keep the money that they I would say you really created it. I wouldn't say they created it, but they monetized your signature, because we are the authorized representative of the estate. They monetize it, and then what they do, is they keep that money on the books, and then turn around and say that you owe this debt, even though you created the funds. And that's how we all get tricked. And in my videos, I say that contracts are valid. And when you start paying on that, that's what happens. We all get tricked. We accept that they call us a debtor. We accept that they call us a borrower. We accept how they define us. And then we go home, or we move into the house, or we keep the car, or whatever. And then we start paying on it. And that's like consummating that contract. It's even though there is fraud, right? But when you start getting in default on loans and stuff, it's really hard to start trying to dig out of that hole, because it's all about what you can prove in records. And by the time you start getting default on loans, you've agreed in the contract that once you start paying on it, if you miss a payment, they can come and get it. They can come and take the car. They can come seize the house. They're basically complying with the contractual obligations that we all signed up for, and then they're performing on it. And then when you try to go into court and say, oh, it's fraud, the contract that they're enforcing, they're meeting the obligations. How it's up to you to prove fraud, right? Especially when you agreed, and through your actions you took the item home, you signed everything, you nodded, you agreed. But there is a lot of flim-flam trickery that goes on in it, and it is a belief system that basically, that's the full faith and credit. It is a belief system, and everybody believes that the money has value. It is someone else's property, so they claim it has value even though it's debt. But yes, debt and set off, it's all about a future date. That's Federal Reserve notes are a promise to pay one day. So whenever you're dealing in the public banking, it is a future promise to pay one day that never comes. So Metatron, everything in our supposed reality is a belief system controlled by the hierarchy. So everything that the controllers that have been authorized in the natural light to do things, these are the big monsters out in the field that control the huge corporations that dictate all of the education that we receive, all of the food that we believe is good, all these things. We all operate believing that stuff is good, it's healthy, it's proper, it's this, that, and the other. And that's how we get deceived, is because we're allowing other people to educate us. We're using other people's property. We're allowing other people to take care of our health. We're allowing other people to be our lawyers and learn the legal system, because our parents didn't teach us. Their parents didn't teach them. So it's like a continuous chain of downfall where, who do you blame? That's why I love being the rule breaker. I love being the black sheep. I love being the one that goes against the grain, because I know that the public is going with the flow downstream to ignorance and to nowhere, and they just don't know what's going on. So I love being called crazy. I love being psycho, because that's what it takes in an insane world to try to break all the generational curses that have been bestowed upon us. And I just recently dealt with generational curses. A girl helped me through inherited issues and stuff because it gets passed down from generation to generation. If we were all taught this stuff from the beginning, like some of these secret societies that are basically taught everything that it took me 10 years to know, they're taught this in day 3, day 4 of their schools. And I had to go down a lot of wrong rabbit trails. I had to make a lot of mistakes. I had to meet a lot of people and talk to a lot of people that had experience in order to understand a bigger picture of how everything really works. And trust me, I've fallen, and you can't just start running. And I tried to say that in my first traveling video. You shouldn't just start running, because a lot of people try to get just a tiny bit of knowledge and then start running. And if you haven't done the background checks on it, vetted the information, put it down on its foundations, it's we all get tricked into thinking everything's gold that's shiny, and it's not. It's not easy usually. If it's real simple and easy, usually it's not right. Like eating healthy isn't easy, or working out isn't easy. Studying outside of the publicly funded education system isn't easy. None of this stuff is really easy. And for me, my path might not be for you, So, the ways and things that I teach, I'm just trying to give a perspective, because everything is, as you said, it is about perspective and perception and belief and what you think, because that shapes our reality. What you think and what you perceive and what you believe, that's your reality. You're come from. We could all watch the same movie, like it'd be 100 of us. We could all watch the same movie, watch the same documentary, study the same material, and we will all get different things from it. Who's right? It's like the video I watched where it said, there's a man and a woman. Does that mean there's a good and a bad? Does that mean there's a right and a wrong? No, they're just two different sides of energies. It's not a good or a bad, a yin and a yang. It's light or dark. You can't label good or bad on everything. It's all perception. If a hurricane hits and it kills your mom, it's the worst thing in the world. But for a contractor that cleans up limbs, it's like jackpot, because he's out there getting funded by the city to start picking up all these limbs all over the place and stuff. He's got good job security for a long time. It's good for him. Is the hurricane bad? Was the hurricane bad? It's like try to label that. All right, James Lara. What kind of paperwork do I need to go back to court and let them know I am the beneficiary, not them? Well, it depends on the court case. Depends on if there's an injured party. It depends on what jurisdiction you're hailing. It depends on what your ultimate goal is. If you're trying to get proceeds, you're trying to get funds, you're trying to get relief, trying to get remedy. Were you wronged? Was there, like I said, an injured party on the other side of the table? I always, suggest being the authorized representative. It's like the simplest way through because according to Title 28, the United States is a corporation for all banking. So whenever you're dealing in banking, which guess what charges are in a court case? It is a commercial affair. Whenever you're dealing in banking, know the banking rules. So come in as the authorized representative and say, hey, where do you want me to sign to set off, settle, and close this account? I'm the authorized representative for the estate. What's, where you want me to sign? But you can. There are 78 billion ways to handle a court case. It's up to you. It's very simple to say that you're a beneficiary of certain things. Trying to claim you're the beneficiary of the charge that has been ledgered against the U.S. citizen is a whole nother story. You'd have to start establishing proof and records that you basically are the one that is supposed to receive the proceeds from the charges and stuff like that, as the authorized representative or as the beneficiary or however you want. All right, so Kendley 22, since you've gained your sovereignty, have you paid taxes? Actually, I have never paid taxes. My U.S. citizen has paid taxes, and anytime an entity that I use that is engaged in a taxable affair, it has to pay taxes. So, for instance, if you're engaged in nonprofit, even the U.S. citizen can engage in not-for-profit and not pay taxes, or very tax-facing problems, basically. So it just depends on how you do your business. You're not taxed on who you are. You're taxed on how you do business, and it's completely up to you. And I leave group chats all the time when I'm in there and they're talking about all these forms you got to filing this fictitious name, putting on these bonds, putting on these UCC liens, putting these CFR stamps, all this stuff that we're not authorized to do. They don't know what they're talking about, and it's like you're going to jail, you're going to get somebody in trouble, and that's not how the whole system works. It's just not how it operates. It's so simple when you start breaking everything down to its basics. Who controls the game that you're playing in? All right? When you figure out who controls the game you're playing in, find out the rules of the game. The tax rules are very simple. If you're engaged, the Federal Reserve note is not your property, that's somebody else's. If you're engaged in for-profit in a federal zone, there's a tax liability. If you're engaged in not-for-profit, that includes barter, gift, trade, exchange, all that stuff, there's no tax liability. You can borrow, there's no tax liability. You can gift, like all these things that we're not taught. That is the truth on how the system works, because we don't hold true title to Federal Reserve notes. It's someone else's property, so you got to understand the rules of the game. Same thing with the banking system. We didn't create the banking system. I mean, we as humans, of course, created everything through, with spirits flowing through us and everything, energy. But when you're dealing with an established system that you, John, Jill, Jane, whoever didn't create, you have to understand the rules of the game of that you're playing in. And if you created it, you're good. If you created the game you're playing in, if you control the title to everything, you're good. But if you do not control the title or understand the game that you're playing in, you're going to get hit over the head. And that's why it says people get perished from lack of knowledge, because we all walk around and we're not taught the truth about anything. Joey Westgate, true, your reality. Yes, all the time. It's all our perception. Now, I'm here trying to guide y'all on what my perception is, right? And I face all the time just like we all getting woken up through common law. Common law is a very high form of law, but it's not the highest from my perception, my studies, my reality, my truth, my come from. I've seen that equity trumps everything. Spirit, the spiritual, the air, the trust, like it's top. All right, so Ray the broker. How do you discharge debt? Why can we sign for a loan with financial institutions that can file UCC? All right, so first question was, how do you discharge debt? So you can do it publicly or privately. And I say publicly even though the the Office of Asset Control, Foreign Asset Control, which deals in enemy assets, which the U.S. citizen is an enemy, it's a public office. So you can send it to the public office. And you can also discharge debt privately through the DTC. It's a very lengthy process. I have videos on both these things. And that's private because you have to end up funneling through a private back office bank, and you end up getting a DTC number, and you end up, it's a lengthy process. But anyway, I have videos on that. You can check it out. The next question was, why can we sign for a loan with financial institutions that can file UCC? So we're authorized to use the U.S. citizen for a lot of things. We are the authorized representative for the U.S. citizen. It's the estate, it's the account, it's the cesta que va, it's the whatever you want to call it, the ens legis, the creature that was created from your mom depositing and submitting documentation to the state. The state created the U.S. citizen, and they issue you trust certificates, the BC. They do certain things. They allow you to do certain things. We are allowed to do public banking with the U.S. citizen. Whenever you are engaged in contractual obligations, it depends on what the contract says or what you're doing, that transpires the result therefrom. So when you're dealing with a financial institution, they are authorized by Congress to monetize signatures on promissory notes, right? So they're fulfilling their obligations because they are federally registered and allowed to do certain things as well, and can't do certain things. Now, whenever you're dealing with a UCC1, that is a financial statement that's making an international claim. A lot of people that are very unlearned try to say that that's a lien. It's not a lien. The UCC1 is simply a public notice of some type of interest. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't have to be a lien. So what banks do is, how liens work is first in line, first in time. When you sign up for a car loan, the contract is the lien. That is the asset. That is not what is registered in the public. The number on the loan is what is registered on the public, on the UCC. And what they will do is they will reference the loan contract number on the UCC1. They will register, or they will list the property, the VIN number, the make, model, color, all that stuff. They will list the amount of the loan or the lien, whatever. And then that's what gets filed. And then that is a public record that is admissible as evidence. So if you go into default, or you try to fight them, or you try to say it's fraud, or you try to do certain things, they can bring that record in and trump you. You know, that's why it's so hard when you sign up for everything and you agree to everything, you start paying on everything, and then you try to say it's all fraud and then try not to pay, or get into default and then try to keep the car and all that. They're gonna come and get it because you're in deep water by the time that happens. So, you're talking about on the name. Yeah. So I think I covered that, Ray. If I didn't, P. Cruz, none. All right, Ray the broker. But you say we cannot file a UCC. You can. You can file a UCC on the name. You can, just like the bank can. It's just contractual obligations. As long as there's an agreement between all the parties on that contract, you are good. You can file. I've done a UCC on someone, but it was my U.S. citizen on them to try to help them out. It wasn't like I, me the human, am trying to put my name in all lowercase and trying to say that I'm the one entity that is trying to put a lien on the U.S. citizen. You can put a lien on the U.S. citizen. It's not your property. You're allowed to do all kinds of things with it, but what are you trying to get from putting a lien on it? All you're doing is harming the credit of that entity. And then how liens work is first in line, first in time. And the U.S. citizen is bonded, traded, and liened up from birth. Like, it's being traded all over the world. You're so far down the line on being the first priority lien holder on that thing that it's crazy. Now, let's say that you do put a lien. Let's say that you, the human, which you're already the authorized representative. You're the trustee in charge of all the debts, duties, and obligations of the U.S. citizen. So let's say, quote unquote, in a magical world, even though all of the state secretaries are trained to not allow a human with lowercase, quote unquote, even though that's not a human, it's just a symbol, so a lowercase, to try to put a lien on an all uppercase, same name, same debtor, because when they put it in the system, it's all uppercase. They're trained to not have the same entity leaning up the same entity. It's like a red flag automatically, boom. So let's say in a perfect world, you in lowercase, right, the representative for a lowercase name leaned up the uppercase name. Okay, then what? Now what? Now are you going to keep going down the rabbit trail of now you can create bonds and stuff off of that debt obligation? Because it is true, any proof of debt in the public is considered an asset, but what are you going to do in a court case? What are you going to do with anything? It's the state's controlled property. You having a lien on the U.S. citizen, all you're doing is harming the credit of that entity. That is not giving you control over it. It doesn't give you control over it. You cannot control what you did not create. You did not create the U.S. citizen. So if you're going to try to bring that record into a court case, the judge is going to think you're nuts, okay? But he will say, at least you're somewhat awake. Right, and like I said, I have heard of a rumor of someone else that was able to get some type of remedy in a court case by saying the secured party creditor. But it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, if the judge puts a lien or puts a garnishment or a payment on the U.S. citizen, and then that goes out, okay, guess what? Even though you had the priority lien holder on the U.S. citizen, you have to pay that off before you can get the license back for you have to pay off the lien that you put on there, and you have to put the garnishment that was by the judge. Now, if you're trying to get the proceeds from the court case, that's a whole nother ball game. That is a whole nother different type of system. You need to really go after the bonds, the bid bond, the performance bond, and the payment bond to try to take the assets and control over it. And I've never seen. I know a guy that did it. I don't think that he got the money from the bonds. I think he only got the bonds, and he was able to keep the court from liquidating on that on the bonds because he took control of the court, and he actually got the bond, at least one. I don't know if he got all three. He got a bond from the court case and basically said they have no right to charge and take control over, charging the entity or whatever. However he got it. But I don't think he ended up keeping the funds, because you have to be authorized on the Secretary of the SEC to be able to deal in securities and brokerages and stuff in order to do that stuff. You got to use agents that can do that stuff. Metatron, righteous indignation. Okay, I'll be honest with you, I'm a little lost on that one. All right, Joey Westgate Ray, I believe you have to have a trust and send it to the indentured trustee. Yes, that is a way to discharge debt, is by creating a trust and having the trustee set off, settle, and close the account. Now, if you appoint a trustee, there is no such thing as involuntary servitude, so they have to accept it. If they do not accept it, it does not mean that the trust does not exist or that you will fail, because a trust cannot fail for lack of a trustee. So you can appoint a trustee, but if they don't accept it, then you have to find another one, or you have to bring that in as admissible evidence in order to squash if a creditor is trying to liquidate or trying to do something, because you've created a trust, and as long as you've done a grantee acceptance on it and you have true title over whatever that debt obligation is, then you appoint a trust. Guess what? The state can't impair in contractual or impede in contractual obligations, so you can enforce it, but you have to know how to enforce stuff in court. So it's up to you at that point. How does the federal zone work, Alex? So, Alex, the federal zones are created through the Buck Act and the zip codes. So the Buck Act basically created a fictitious false laminate layer over all of America that created little districts that are federal zones. And that's how all of the federal government operates. The United States is located in the District of Columbia, all right? And we all think that it's all around us, but it's not. The U.S. is in the District of Columbia, and through the Buck Act, they put false federal jurisdictions over all of America, and that's how everything is registered over top of a corporate state. It's not the Republic. The Republic is still operational in the background, but you have to know how to invoke it and operate in the private. And just be careful if you're going to any Federal Reserve notes crap. It's just not suggested. All right, Potter Bing 849. Any advice on how to get off probation? State Tennessee. So, yeah, that's really tough because you're already at the very end. The trust has been expressed, the bonds have matured, and you're now at the very end of the sentencing of the U.S. citizen. And I have not really seen anybody get any luck other than having a president or a governor or a mayor pardon somebody, because the only way to finish it is you need to satisfy all of the bonds. The bonds are maturing for a certain amount of time, for 5 years or whatever. And if the 5 years isn't up, the debt has to be set off. Now, if you have your DTC number, you can squash it. If you have some other way to pay or satisfy all the debts, but how it works with business is pretend like you're a business, right? And you've got your bonds maturing on this case for this guy over here, and then he comes in after 4 years or 5 years of it maturing, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I want to just go ahead and squash it all." Well, is it worth the while of the business to try to even deal with you to try to help you handle it? It might not be, but you can enforce it and try. But like I said, I have not seen once the trust is expressed and all the parties have taken their positions and the bonds are maturing out on the world stage, you're dealing in big commerce stuff at that point. And to try to come in at the end and be like, "Oh, I want off now, it's all flim flam," it's just kind of tough. Jerry, I have a tree service I have had for almost 20 years. I want to move it to nonprofit. All right, so the easiest way to do that is you can either, if it's federally registered, you can just accept donations, suggested donations. A lot of people be like, "This is the suggested donation," blah 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 blah. Then you can stop claiming all the income. You don't have to claim income. You just say that you're receiving donations, you're receiving gifts, for offering services. The most ideal situation is you liquidate that business, you dissolve it, wrap up all the affairs, transfer all the assets into a different type of entity. That way it's not like on the books with the IRS. It's not all this stuff. You can create an association or a private PMA or something like that or whatever, and start to offer services. But when you start engage in for-profit in a federal zone and or just for-profit general, but if you're in a federal zone, it's even worse. So if you start to engage for profit, it's a tricky situation to not pay taxes. But that's a way you can do it. Joey Westgate, true. We got to read the Enemy Act. Yeah, everything about the U.S. citizen is codified in the Trading with the Enemy Act, the TWEA. Ever since the update with the Trading of the Enemy Act included U.S. citizens, that's where a lot of your remedies will come from. And nobody teaches that, but that's where you'll get your stuff. It's good to know how things work, and it just takes a lot of effort. All right, so Jamie, I thank you, brother, for the info. I'll be researching videos. All right, 10-4, buddy. Care LLC. What about a mortgage? Did I not cover that already with a mortgage? I hope I did. Sorry, I'm like way behind on questions. Joey, it has to be 2 or 3 people involved in the UCC bill. Yeah, it's 2 people. But what a lot of the secured party creditors try to teach is that you, the human, which no matter how you write down a name, it's not you. You're not the name. You're not a written word. You're the sovereign. You're the ultimate. You're a fractal of the creators. Like you're beyond a written insignia, a graven image. That's not you. That is something that you can represent, or you can engage that written name into contractual obligations if you want. But that's not you. Justin Collins, cutting off their funds is how we should revolt, no doubt. But I stay so poor working for cash. Yeah, we all do. That's how the whole system has been established. Is we have been basically thrown onto the farm, the state farm, and they take 33% of everything you use. We're not taught how banking works. We're not taught about taxes. We're not taught about corporations. We're not taught how to engage into contracts properly or none of this stuff. And then we go into college. Some of us we get all this debt up, and then there's no job when you're done. You got all this debt, and then we're always chasing something with all this propaganda that's being pushed on us about buy this, you have to have this to be happy, do this, that, and other. And it's hard to see the forest through all the trees sometimes. So it takes a lot of education and in order to do stuff, and a lot of effort and work, and honestly a lot of money. It's a pain in the butt. Joey, it's only a tool we can use. Yes, it's a tool. The U.S. citizen is a tool, and it's up to you if you want to use that tool. It does have 4 liens on it, but you can create your own. You don't have to use it. Like, I know so many spouses that are stay-at-home parents, and their U.S. citizen is not engaged in the public at all. There's no tax liability. There's no nothing. They can still contract with it. They can do certain things. They could receive gifts or barter or trade exchange. And then there's no tax liability. You're taxed on how you do business. That's it. And trying to trust me, you don't have to trust me, but I'll tell you what I did. I spent 6-7 years trying to take the U.S. citizen out of their jurisdiction. I studied that sucker. I tried leaning it. I tried transferring it like it was real estate. I tried doing all this stuff, and then I ended up finding out at the end of the day that it's not even controlled by me, and I don't even have to use it. And it's like, everybody looks at it like this scary monster or whatever. When you're in court and stuff, we're the trustees, we're the authorized representative. It is their property, but they have to get our consent, right, in order to do certain things, because we're in charge of all the debts, duties, obligations, and liabilities of that entity. So they have to get our permission in order to do certain things. They can't just liquidate. Now, they will all the time. They will get you under their jurisdiction no matter what you say. That way they can just administer the account. But at the end of the day, they're supposed to have our agreement, and it's hard to grasp that everybody is in jail by their own agreement. They signed and agreed and nod all the way in, and that's what happens to all of us. Keek, hi. Who do you call to sue someone bond? There's a website called www.bondsforthewin.com that I suggest you can check out. Byland, a W-4 sandwich is a process for getting an audit for people that are on the private. If somebody has used the U.S. citizen without your authority, now you got to remember certain things. When we sign forms, if you don't read them all, especially like when you go to get a car loan and stuff, they actually get you to sign a limited power of attorney to allow them to shop around for different bank loans and different things to get you a good rate. They get us under all these contracts that we don't read. The same thing happens with apps. They have a 16-page legal document that you have to just click accept or not, and you can't even use their app. But if you read all of the terms and conditions of that stuff, you would not like it. And what sucks about apps is you can't cross stuff out. You can't say, I don't want you to use my likeness or my picture or my information on this stuff. It's just basically like you'd have to contact the company, tell them to send you a paper copy of all the legal stuff, and then you can cross it out and send it back, and then hope that they let you use their app. It's just like it's a pain in the butt. Inman, I just heard of someone mailing their driver's license, proof of insurance, and registration to himself, and if pulled over and asked for those documents, he said, they are, but I don't give you consent to open it. That's a really weird way to try to do something. So the license is permission from the king to do something illegal. Since we're U.S. citizens are all enemies, that's why they have to be licensed. So the license isn't even his. The Social Security card isn't even yours. The picture on it isn't even yours. It's all state's property, right? And when you get pulled over, if your car is registered to the state, they're the beneficiary that require belts, tags, titles, insurance, licenses, all that stuff. So if you're going to be engaged in the public and you're traveling around, driving, you'd be driving most likely. If you're traveling in your own private conveyance and you've done the proper due diligence, you have the MCO, you have the true title on it, it's never been registered, you've given notice and all that stuff, at that point, yeah, put your license inside of a trust wallet or their license and say, yes, you don't give consent, but it is proper protocol for during times of war for police to inspect any belligerent or combatant to make sure they're not engaged in enemy activity. So it is proper to allow them to be kind to them. They're servants. They're just trying to make sure you're not, chopping up freaking people or doing drugs that will harm, kids or whatever, So they have a right to inspect certain things. So, you got to be mindful of your servants if you're doing that way in proper manner with traveling. But most of us are driving. Cap Nug, Plunk play. Cap Nug Plunk gunplay. Cap and gunplay. Gotcha. Can I pay auto loan in full by endorsing promissory note? Yeah, we do. We all do. We actually all of us pay for everything by putting a signature on a promissory note. Then the banks who have been authorized by Congress to monetize that, the CFO signs the back of it. The CFO is actually, and this is how you can call them out on fraud, the CFO is actually the responsible party on that debt obligation, because whoever signs the back, that's the private side. The public side of the note is where you and the bank has their all capital letter name. A lot of people say that there's no other signature, but whenever you see a bank in all capital or whatever, that is actually a signature. So if whenever you sign and the bank or the bank's rep sign, that's the public. On the private side, the CFO signs, and they're the ones that are truly in charge of the debt obligation, and you can call them out on that. However, I do not suggest trying to do that when you're in default on contractual obligations that you agreed to, right? So you start missing payments, and then you're like, okay, I'm failing on this contract, but I'm gonna go ahead and try to start waiving fraud. They're gonna get you in a headlock, like first, before you can even start trying to prove fraud. It's best to try to prove fraud while you're above board. Keep paying on it. You know, make sure they don't come and try to take it. Then you're good. So that's what ends up happening a lot of times is people get a fire under their butt, then they jump, and then they try to all of a sudden learn that, oh, everything's fictitious and fraud and blah, blah, but you've engaged in a lot of contractual obligations that you're in default on. What do I think of that? I think I already answered that. Evolving Seas. What up, man? How you doing? I've asked you about the right to subrogation. I haven't. I've read that a little bit, but I have not. I don't know if I'm well versed to speak on it. Subrogation. Oh, substitute. Yeah, you can. That's right. You can substitute. You can substitute any obligation as long as someone else agrees, right? So if you're trying to put off, and that's what a security agreement is. That's what the banks do. That's how they get everybody. Is you paid for everything, and then they turn around and they define you as a borrower, and then they basically subrogate the debt to you, and you agree to it, and then they memorialize that, and then they register that on a UCC and all that stuff. They don't register the fact that you created the funds with your signature on a promissory note, but it is a public record. If you look up the affidavit of Walker F. Todd, you can see all that stuff. It's all public records. All right, so Ray the broker, some guy posted paperwork from 10 to register a securities form 10. Register securities with the SEC. You know, some people are authorized to do that stuff. You know, if you've gotten the proper licenses for public, you know, when you're dealing with the public banking system, we're authorized to do certain things, and we're not. We're not authorized to do certain stamps, bonds, bills of exchange, certain security types of forms and stuff like that. And I'm not the one go all of all the banking rules and regulations. Like, that's the whole gist of why I love equity. You can either study the commercial water realm and learn codes, policies, and procedures for the rest of your life, because they will never stop making new ones, or you can just learn the little bit of equity and it trumps everything, and that's the best way to go. All right, SM0317, U.S. citizen, the Constitution, the natural law, right? So that's a really weird statement. Natural law, and so my definition of nature is a lot different than a lot of other people's definition. When talking about common law, there are common laws that are proper parlance of certain jurisdictions and venues, like, you know, thou shalt not kill, you know, eye for an eye, you know, stuff like that. But it depends on what you're trying to. You can call any of these three jurisdictions anytime that you want. You can invoke admiralty, common law, or equity. And it's up to you depending on what you're trying to get out of what situation. Don't tread on me. I'm still in traffic court. They getting me with Kentucky statute. Thought about challenging subject matter jurisdiction. So they're coming after the U.S. citizen. The U.S. citizen has a charge against it, and they're trying to say that the U.S. citizen owes. It's just an account. The U.S. citizen owes some type of duty, debt, obligations, or liabilities for improperly playing on the board game. And it's up to you. You got 10 million ways or 78 billion ways to try to squash that account. You know, you can create a trust. You can appoint a trustee. You can pay in Federal Reserve notes. You can offer your body up as surety and go to jail. You can try to get the bonds. You can do all kinds of things. It's up to you. You can come in as an authorized representative and set off, settle, and close it. But you got to know how the games work. That's a whole nother board. That's a whole nother little board game you got to study. You know, if you're going to try to go into court and enforce things, you got to know about the rules of evidence, proper protocols, procedures to admissible evidence, what's hearsay, what's not hearsay, all these things. You know, that's why an attorney, an esquire, is a skilled trade. It is a very skilled trade, and they study and learn it. But at the end of the day, it's the same thing. They're indoctrinated just like doctors. Even though a doctor studies for 8 years, he don't remember what he was learning in year one. When you go into him, he's just going to look up and Google what petroleum-based product do I got to give this guy for psoriasis. Like he can't remember all this stuff. What petroleum-based product do I give for a rash on the knee? You know, stuff like that. Same thing happens with an attorney. Even though there's different jurisdictions and venues of you know, common law, equity, and admiralty, they're still going to go home and do study. No matter what the case is, they're going to study on stuff. It just is what it is. And I met a lawyer, an attorney apparently. They're taught that humans can have tax numbers, and I was like, it blew my mind. It was crazy. Jerry, I got assaulted and battered by my city police, and I'm going to federal court with an attorney. Well, that's tough, man. That sucks. If you can claim damages, you know, you can always get remedy if they violated you. If you can stand on your rights and enforce it, but it's hard. The federal government is tricky because they can spend $10 million to collect a penny, you know, and not a lot of us have that kind of resources. All right, so Jerry Drake, I'm not sure how to go about it. Yeah, there's, like I said, there's 78 billion ways to handle a court case, you know, and I don't give legal advice. I give lawful guidance. I have playlists that can help re-educate you. Guys, this live will be on my YouTube. All of my social media links are linked on my website, which is on my TikTok profile. I have playlists to re-educate you. I have a lot of free information on my website. You can browse around. All the stuff that it took to help me get to where I'm at, it's all there on the website. Just browse around. It's all free. All right, Potter Bing 5,000 may clear it. What? Okay, SM031. Used to two men walk in a bar, have a dispute, they would settle it, and couldn't be arrested. Yeah, that is actually how I suggest trying to handle almost everything. Whenever you're in front of a judge, there is a dispute that couldn't be handled in the public. And that is why it is always wisest to try to handle things one-on-one like adults. Now, a lot of times there needs to be a third-party mediator or contractual obligations between people and memorialize stuff that if y'all going to come up with agreements, because people do lie. And that's why things are established between two or more witnesses. Because people lie, people steal, they cheat, they rob, they do all kinds of things. So it's really hard to try to stay honorable out in the public. That's why the public courts say that everything done outside of a public court case is considered hearsay, but there are exceptions to the hearsay rule. And you got to understand those things. Miso agree. All right, so SMO3 can't beat a good conspiracy theory, especially when they're facts. Yeah, a lot of what do they say? The difference between a conspiracy theory and fact is what, 3 months now or something like that. Potter Bing, we need to know how to sue the state or the feds. Lawsuits beat them in the court by the rules. It's happening. It's happening now all the time. If you go outside of the mainstream narratives and public media and stuff like that, you'll see that there's lawsuits happening all the time, but the public's not going to freaking publish it because the people that control the media, they have certain narratives and certain things that they want to push out to people, and if it doesn't fit that criteria, they're not going to push it out to everybody. Due diligence drag. So is it even worth changing status? So you're already sovereign, due diligence. What I profess and claim to is a good path is that you can do a status declaration where you declare, because it's all, at the end of the day, it's all about what you can prove. And you don't even have to put this down in writing. You can just declare it in your heart, right? And, you know, same thing happens when you go into a court case. The judge is not going to look at all the paperwork if he gets you under his jurisdiction immediately, right? It doesn't matter. You could say I'm sovereign. You could say I'm Billy Ray Cyrus's father, whatever. You can put it on a piece of paper. The judge is going to wipe his rear end with it if he gets you under his jurisdiction. Now, you don't need a piece of paper to close a court, right? But paper is very good for memorialization and for proving and bringing records, which are exceptions to the hearsay rule, especially a third party's public record whose duty it is to keep such records. So if you can bring that in as admissible, you're good all day long. So what I suggest a lot of people that they can do is do a status declaration, right? And you basically declare what you want to claim. It could be the Republic of Texas. It could be, you're the Muslim monk of Grand Allah. Whatever you want. You can say you're the king, you're the postmaster general. You can say anything you want, and then you can memorialize that, and then you can have it recorded and certified out, and it's admissible anywhere. But so you, the human, are already sovereign. You don't have to change your status. You have to change your mind and understanding that the U.S. citizen is a corporation that you can represent. And it's up to you what you do with it, right? If you push that U.S. citizen off a bridge, it's gone. If you have that U.S. citizen traveling or driving down the road and is speeding, there's a debt obligation if you get caught. If it gets caught, that you're going to have to pay because you're the authorized representative for that estate. So it's up to you what you do with that entity, whether or not you're going to have any liabilities. It's up to you. Paul, hey brother, how you doing? Nice to see you. What about current loans? I think I might have covered that. It depends on what you're trying to do. You can either keep paying off the loan or you can try to claim fraud on it. And then you've got to understand the Administrative Procedures Act and how to establish records and all that kind of stuff. I have videos that can help as well. All right, so Paul, no, when they put you in jail before sentencing, it's kidnapping. So a lot of people don't know this, but so police are just humans, right? And a lot of us are taught that, are brought up thinking they're enemies and they don't try to help. And if you're coming from peace and love, it is very rare that they're going to body slam you. Okay, if you're very cooperative and very nice to your servants, it's very rare that they're going to pistol whip you, unless you have a chopped up prostitute in your trunk and you're snorting cocaine and shooting flamethrowers, right? Then yeah, they're probably going to try to hit you with a tranquilizer dart, tag you with all kinds of things. But when you're always coming from peace and love and you understand the system fully, normally they won't kidnap you. Okay, if they do kidnap you and you know how to maintain your sovereignty and understand things, you can go after their bonds because they are bonded in order to be holding those public offices, and you have to understand how to do that enforcement as well. And I actually had somebody that wanted me to teach the enforcement, and I actually don't want to put a video out on enforcement because there's just certain things that I shouldn't release out. I have released out so much gold and so much knowledge and so much information where if you're able to put all the pieces together, y'all would be unstoppable, untouchable. Y'all would be the force on this earth that y'all have always been meant to be, but we've been taught that we are the lowest on the totem pole when really we are the super sovereigns in control of everything. So, Paul Manning. Oh, yeah. So, Kick, thank you. You're welcome. SM. Like Zoom, or they got some good ones. What in the world? I don't know. I must have legal fiction. Yep. Define use or judicial person without authority. Define use or hold on. Oh, thank you, Guru. Thanks for the rose. Appreciate it, sweetheart. P. Cruz. Define use or juridical person without authority. So are you talking about without us being the authorized representative, or are you talking about without a U.S. citizen having authority? Because once you submit the paperwork to create the U.S. citizen, it's already authorized. It's already out there. It's already been established. It's already been created. And that is what Kick. Thank you for the rose. Much appreciated. Thank you again. Whenever you give up jurisdiction, so look at it like this. Let's pretend that your U.S. citizen was Coca-Cola, right? If you bring Coca-Cola to court, Coca-Cola can't do anything without an authorized representative. It has to have somebody. It has to have a lawyer. It has to have a CEO, a president. It has to have somebody that's representing Coca-Cola. Because if not, if you bring a Coca-Cola on a stand, it can't do anything, right? So same thing with our U.S. citizen. If your U.S. citizen is, if you're going to push it and engage it in contracts and certain things, if there's a liability or an incident or whatever, you're the one that was moving. You're the one that's in charge of it. Even though the state controls it, you're the authorized representative for all the debts, duties, obligations, liabilities that incur on it. Now, guess what? Like I said all day long, people might be mad at the IRS, but it doesn't matter what you care about. It's about what you can prove. And if you're engaged in for-profit in a federal zone, and then you try to say I don't have to pay taxes, they're gonna come after you because the U.S. citizen had a tax liability and it owes. And that's why I came full circle. It took me 7 years of learning and studying before I realized, wow, I was sovereign the whole time. I thought that the U.S. citizen was keeping me in bondage and chains and darkness. And then I found out that it's just a corporation. That's it. And it depends on what you do with that corporation. that determines everything. It determines all kinds of things. But through our commerce is karma, right? And basically that can shape our reality through the contracts that we keep on a day-to-day basis. It's up to you how you engage out in public or in private to do your commercial affairs. That's it. Same thing with taxes. That's it. You're just taxed on how you do business. It's so simple. We all get caught up in our feelings. Jail. Same thing with court cases. As long as there's not an injured party, at the end of the day, it's just an account that has to be settled. It's simple. It's so simple. It's just an account. You can settle it. Guru, thank you, babe. All the, whatever that little thing is, the big love. Much appreciated. All right, so legal fiction. Due diligence. Can you discharge current loans? Yeah, it's possible. I mean, even paying Federal Reserve notes is set off. It's just a set off. You're not really even paying it. It's just setting off the debt to get paid. It's saying that the U.S. will pay it one day, and it never does. But yeah, you can send in to the alien property custodian. You can send in debt obligations of the U.S. citizen. That's a benefit and a privilege of using the U.S. citizen. Paying taxes is a benefit and privilege of the U.S. citizen. Using Federal Reserve notes is a benefit and privilege of the U.S. citizen. Being licensed is a benefit and privilege of the U.S. citizen. It's just up to you how you use it. Bob Turner. So they can't go into a trust wallet. Yeah, they can. They can do whatever they want. But if you have like a fee schedule or private property or something on it, and they basically go into it, you can make them pay. And you can liquidate all day long on contractual obligations, especially if you give them notice, right? So whenever you're traveling, you want to give notice of things. If you say that in the private conveyance there will be certifications and certain things that are going to be sealed outside of inspection, and any impedings on private property is going to cost this, that, and the other. You don't have to. I don't suggest mailing out to the DOT and all these people that the amount of money that is going to be required or requested if somebody infringes on your rights. But if a police, one of your servants pulls you over, it's good time. That's a good time. That is actually the first court case, guys. A lot of us think that going to court in arraignment is the first court case. No, the first court case is when the cop pulls you over. Guru, thank you, sweetheart. When you get pulled over, that is the first court case with the cop. He is a federally trained witness. He is basically giving you your first court case, right? And then depending on what happens from that court case is what transpires. And then when you go, if you get arrested and you get booked, booking is the ledgering of an account. It's the lodging of the start of the account. So thank you for the gifts, guys. All of your gifts will be used to enlighten others. I will basically use that to promote videos, to teach others more stuff. So thank you. You're helping wake the populace up. Bob Turner. So they can't go into... Okay, I already did that one. What are the 10 maxims of commercial law? You'd have to Google that. I don't know the 10 maxims of commercial law. I would actually suggest reading the maxims of equity. And I think there's way more than 10 maxims of commercial law. You start going down the commercial international stuff, and you're opening up a can of worms that's going to last for a long time. Drippy's Organics. What if the vehicle's already paid off? What should someone now do to this? It's up to you what you want to do with their property. Okay, they allow you to do certain things. You can pee on it. You can slam it into a tree. You can sell it to your mom, for $5. You can do whatever you want with it. If you're trying to get true title over it, that's a whole nother story. I have a video on that. You can watch True Title of Car if you want to try to get true title on it. And guys, if you want to know if you have true title of something, don't pay taxes. You don't have to pay taxes on what you control or hold true title over. Right? That's, at the end of the day, that's a foundation that I will tell you. If you truly control something, you don't have to pay taxes on it. So, Metatron, is the bill that is sent to the consumer, that is the assumed debtor, actually a dividend? All right. Oh, because it's a positive number? Is that what you're talking about? How when they send a bill, it's under the contractual obligation. So I wish it was this simple, that they send you a positive number and then you send them Federal Reserve notes and it's a negative number and it just zeroes it out, but it's not really how it works. You're just continuing to implement the contractual obligations of the U.S. citizens that you engaged in when they called you a borrower and pretended to loan you money. That's when you sign for a house, your signature actually buys the house, and then they turn around and act like they loaned you money, but they're not. You actually created the currencies. But they monetized it, All right, so Tomachivo, what are the... Oh, yeah, I already answered that. Rebecca Monroe, how do we avoid fraud? My daughter is 18. I want her to get a bank account. Thanks in advance. So opening up a bank account is not fraud. It just depends on what you want to do. Guru, thank you again, sweetheart. You're my number one biggest love. You're my fan. I appreciate you. Rebecca, so opening up a bank account depends on if you want to remove the U.S. citizen's liability on anything with the bank. Then you can create a trust, and you can have a trust indenture that basically gives authorization to one of the trustees to open up a bank account. And you can get a TIN for the trust and stuff like that if you want to separate liability. But at the end of the day, it's just the U.S. citizen. It's just a tool that you can use. You know, a lot of people want to fight it all day long. Now, what ends up happening is a lot of people sign adhesion contracts, and they grow up thinking that they are the U.S. citizen, and they can't make that separation. They cannot, in their mind, believe that the U.S. citizen is a corporation, because we've all signed stuff and agreed that I'm the U.S. citizen, I'm this, that, and the other, but you're not. It's just a corporation. So if a law enforcement comes in or Child Protective Services or somebody else, they have control over the U.S. citizen. They need your authorization to use it. But if you start saying you're not the U.S. citizen or you're the authorized representative or whatever, they have to throw their hands up and kind of be like, what? Especially if you have a true title over the child or something and they try to infringe on it. You can take them to court over contractual obligations. Metatron, and can it be used to pay the debt? So if you're talking about the bill, the charge, like I said, you can send it to the alien property custodian, or you can send it, zap it through the DTC to the IRS, basically, once you get that number. All right, Rebecca Monroe, will this live be on your YouTube? Yes, this live will be on my YouTube. The audio will be on my Telegram group. All of my social media links are on my website that are linked on my profile page of TikTok, and I have playlists that y'all should go through. It should help re-educate on a lot of things. It's Friday, guys. Appreciate y'all. Sorry, my microphone. It's all right. It happens to all of us. Create a silver bond. Yeah, so if you create a bond and you basically put silver as backing it, or substance, or something that's outside of like federal or state jurisdiction, stuff like that, you can do lots of things. And I was telling Sav, I think it was last live, two sovereign entities can contract almost any way they want, as long as they're not like harming like a human, or like like trading children or something crazy like that, or like contractual obligations. States can't impede on it. So like when you start to engage, like me as a sovereign, if I have 10,000 Federal Reserve notes, 10 million Federal Reserve notes, and they were given to me, gifted to me, they were all the taxes were paid on it before I was given it, and my sovereign entity wants to give another sovereign entity it, nobody can interfere, especially if we have contractual obligations, like we set up a security agreement, or there are services provided, or whatever. It's just how it works. Now, again, the federal government, they do like some sneaky stuff, because in the public court systems, they don't operate on what's legal, right, or just. They basically do whatever they want. Guru, thanks again for the rose, sweetheart. You're something amazing. Much appreciated, babes. You got to ask him how much the bond is. Oh, you talking about? So the judges like have a book, and I know this. They have certain amounts, and that was basically what happened to me when I went to court. Is the judges are bound by certain codes, rules, and statutes unless they invoke equity. I've seen judges invoke equity as administrator too. Whenever you go in front of the judge, he's just an administrator, and depending on what the charge is, there's a certain amount of monetary value that's attached to it on the private. There's a certain amount of monetary value that's attached to the public. In the public, they'll say you owe $100. In the private, they're trading that misdemeanor for $10,000, $200,000, whatever it is. I don't know what it is. And then also, according to the codes that he's bound by, he can throw you in jail for a certain amount of time, or charge you this, that, and the other. Now, what happens all the time is we don't bring our own law in court. So when the judge is there and he's looking at both parties' claims, they have the state attorney with the cops, and they've got all this paperwork, all these claims, all these files, all these rulings that he's looking at on the left side. And then what do you bring in? You don't bring in anything. You bring in the U.S. citizen that's under their control and be like, oh, yeah, I didn't do nothing. It's like, you're done. But you can bring your own law in that settles and set-offs and sets the account closed, or you can just come in as the authorized representative. It's up to you. Joey Westgate, I heard you can register a car with the UPS. Yeah, I've heard of that too, but I went back and forth with a guy for a while that tried to say if you aren't using the the postal service for registering, then you have no authority. I had another guy try to tell me if I wasn't using what's the guy's name's flag, David Windmiller's flag, that I have no authority. Guru, what is this live fest? Thanks, babe, much appreciated. So all that stuff is false. You know, you have authority with or without someone's flag, with or without registering something. You can hail the Republic if you want, or you can get a land patent and outline the longitude and latitude of that rectangular surface area and claim sovereignty over that, you know, and claim that as the jurisdiction. You can call it Santana land or something. You could call it, you know, Domingo land or Flamingo bus or what, you know, whatever. You can call it whatever you want. It'd be your land, you know, and then you can use that as jurisdiction, and you can set up a post and you can start registering stuff to it all day long. We have the unlimited ability to contract, and we can create any kind of things that we want all day long. All right, so Mastermind, how do you handle the traffic ticket if you're not from the small town? And if the traffic ticket, so it doesn't matter if the traffic ticket's false. It doesn't. It only matters about what they can prove. They could come in there and try to say that you killed 2 poodles and you slept with Michael Jordan, you know, and it could be on the record. But if you don't rebut it, if you don't have any way of fighting it or understand the procedures and all that, it'll stand, you know. So it doesn't matter what's truthful or right. It only matters about what you can prove. And there's 78 million ways to handle a traffic ticket. Like I said, you can send in Federal Reserve notes. You can create a trust. You can, as soon as you get the traffic ticket, you can go straight to court and say you're there to pay. And even though it hasn't been ledgered on their computers yet, if you have a witness, you can basically say, according to international commercial law, I am here to pay this debt obligation. And on the ticket, it says on or before this date. I'm here before. And if you don't accept this, that means that the debt is discharged. You know, that's one way you can do it. Like I said, there's 78 million ways to handle it. It's up to you. You're the author of your destiny. All right, so Manatee. Could a compensation pay of a federal contractor be non-taxable if it is put in a trust? After the taxes are paid on it, yeah, you can put it in a trust. But if you're a federal contractor, so guys, a Social Security number actually is a linchpin that turns the U.S. citizen into a federal employee. And that's why it's really hard to not operate on federal zones and federal jurisdiction and federal things, is because whenever you use that Social Security number, so you have to control the true title of whatever you're trying to put in trust. I have a video on title that I just made. I have a video on trust. I suggest watching the playlist on my profile. Take notes, it'll help. Reaching those codes have a price on them. Yes, they do. What are the 10 maxims of commercial law? Why do you keep asking that? I don't know what they are, dude. There's more than 10. Court cases. Use your bond, bid bond. Can one ask for the bid bond? Yeah, you can ask for the bid bond, the payment bond, and performance bond, especially if you've taken control of the court and you have basically come in as the sovereign and administered the account, right? And I've seen somebody do it. Like I said, I don't know if he got all 3, but I know he got one of them. Because at the end of the day, if you control the account, then you can basically say anything you want on the record. You can say all proceeds are now going to me, the representative for the U.S. citizen. Any commercial debt obligation for this account is now null and void. Or you can I don't know how to get the bonds, to get money off of them. Like, I think you have to go through a broker. I don't know how the courts do it either, to be honest with you. What's my take on Agenda 30? I think Agenda 30 has been going on for a long time. If you look at everything, all of the fluoride in the water, all of the stuff the FDA approves, you know, cigarettes and all the carcinogens in food. Guru, thanks for the bracelet. Thanks, babe. All this stuff has been slowly poisoning us in all of our frequencies through Wi-Fi, through chemtrails, through TV, and all this stuff puts us in like a mush state of malleableness where we're being fed indoctrination all the time. Tomachivo, why don't you just Google it, dog? Why are you asking everybody and posting the 10 maximum of commercial law? All I would do is Google it and read it, you know? Just like Google it. Magus Galzu. You have to consent. Yes, all the time. It's all by consent. There's no involuntary servitude. That's is that the second 13th article and amendment? I think that's the second. Yeah, second 13th article and amendment is there's no involuntary servitude. We agreed everything. Videos. My videos are on my website. They're on my profile page of TikTok. They're all over the place. Yeah, but P. Cruz, they get us under the jurisdiction very, very easily. Oh, look at that! Thanks for the love, Guru, Guru Sude. Um, hot chick on my video, sweetheart. All right, so Tori Davis, 106 The Truth. Good Friday to you. Thank you. Much appreciated. Thanks for the follows. Thanks for the shares. Thanks for the gifts. All that stuff. Much appreciated. All your gifts will be used to help educate others. Yes, it's a shame. The base system, yeah. Gentry. Kids still being sent to school, not learning. Yeah, so that's how everything's designed. It's designed to, they don't want people to be very well educated, critical thinkers to come out of the box and understand that they're all being shammed all the time. And it's been said numerous times, if everybody understood how the banking system worked, there would be a revolt overnight. And that's why when you go through the DTC, you have to sign a non-disclosure agreement, because you could upset the whole economy if you started preaching and talking about how the truth is. Build your love. What if you plead, then set a day to go to jail to serve time? Well, then that's all about contract offer and acceptance. You've expressed a contract, and now you're going to perform on it, or you can change the terms and conditions. But if you don't know how to handle yourself, then you're going to be in trouble. I have some information that can help you. It's on my website if you look. All right, Skull Stops Life. Oh, School socially engineers taxes works. Yeah, we're basically just taught enough to push and pull the levers and learn how to start working for a corporation as soon as you get out of school. And then you have all this debt, and it's like, it's a pain in the butt. If you could send me the process, please. I can't with all these scammers. What process are you talking about? You can DM me. Anybody, y'all can DM me. I give free consultation. All my stuff, I help for free all day. I don't charge anything. How do you settle an account with no victim? That's the easiest way to settle an account. You come in as the authorized representative and ask us all about banking, because they're all authorized to monetize our signatures. So it's a commercial account that needs to be settled. So where do I sign? Just tell me where you want my signature, because that's the only thing of value that's out there. The only thing of value on a US dollar is the two signatures on it, because it's backed by someone's promise to pay one day. So our signatures are what creates everything. Same thing when you go to jail. You have to sign stuff. They have to get your agreement. There is no involuntary servitude. You have to sign and agree to everything. Gentry, need to if you're able. All are able but won't watch. January 108, now free plug for selling his stuff. Yeah, everybody sells all this stuff to try to make money. Yeah, my stuff's free. And people, it's free all day, and people won't even look at it. And I'm just, it's like I have to charge y'all in order for y'all to even pay attention. But I'm giving all this stuff out free. Take advantage of it. It's up to you whether or not you want to educate yourself, because at the end of the day, that's what really matters. I do not hold someone's hand through every single process, because I do not lead people down paths that they don't understand, because then it's just me. If you can't embody it, or you're ever confronted or faced with something and asking the validity of something you've done, and you have no clue what you've done, oh, this guy on TikTok gave me a piece of paperwork, and then you're screwed, because it's all about what you can prove and how you can stand and enforce on your claims. All right. Gentry, that why they draw out court? What are you talking about? I don't know. The Truth, thanks for the hat. Oh, did I get a hat? I didn't see it. Thank you. That book is good for commercial aspects of Maxim. Which one? Gentry, they are receiving money as long as case is ongoing. Yeah, it depends on the bond, how long it's maturing. So, like, felonies have certain amounts, misdemeanors, infractions, codes, all these things have different commercial amounts. And depending on what the bonds are set to, oh, thanks for the heart, Geocentric. Depending on what the bonds that are issued for the case are set at is how long they mature. And that's why it is so hard to get somebody out of jail, because when the trust has been expressed, the parties have been assigned their duties, and the bonds start maturing on the private side, and then you want to come in and try to change the trust or change the appointments or try to say, no, I want to be the beneficiary now. Like, it's really tough. This thing just jumped really far. I can't believe how far I am behind on questions. All right. In the back of Black's Law Dictionary, you can find maximum law. That's a good place. I think I have some on my website, actually. That's like telling me asking, hey, what's Idaho's publication rule 305 on statute 10? It's like, I don't know. I don't know the 10 maxims in freaking law. I know there's a lot more than that. Ray the broker, I can take the separation. I'm just trying to figure out how to use it and discharge debt. So I have videos on it. I suggest watching those. Broke, thank you for the fire. Much appreciated. Thank you for the fest. I need all the information you got. Hey, it's all on my website. Like, it's free. Y'all can go on there. You can download the Dropboxes. But I will tell y'all, I am constantly updating my Dropbox. Like, I have 1,000 TikTok videos and information I'm constantly updating. A lot of people will just click, drag, and copy the thing and think they're done. But, you know, in 3 days from now, I've updated 100 different videos or changed folders or whatever. I've still got a lot of work to do on it. It's just kind of, it's fun sometimes. Sometimes it's not so fun going through all my Dropbox and organizing stuff. So, Joey Gate, you are the only guy that provides free tools. Authentic speaker. Thank you. Cracking the code. Yeah, those are good, but I haven't read them in a long time, so I couldn't like 100% tell you how truth they are. I got to go backwards because I missed a lot of questions. Hold on. All right, how do you get true title? It depends. Oh, of a kid. Thank you again, Tara, or is that a different person? I'm sorry. Thanks for the gift. Much love. Dang, did it jump down again? I'm trying to read all these questions. Yeah, so it's all on my website. George Carlin, Truth, Can't Control. So someone was asking about how to get title. I have a video on title. I have a video on Title a Kid if you want to watch that. I have a template on my website under Commerce ID Birth that you can use that can help understand how to create a document of title over your property. Drippy's Organics, could you explain the best way to use the tool for acquiring property and discharging debt? So the best way to use the tool is to not use it. You know, in my aspect, unless you're going to go through the DTC and tap into the private side. If not, use the tool to engage in not-for-profit because the U.S. citizen can't hold assets. So the best thing to do is express a national that owes allegiance to a private Republican state, and then that entity can hold true title. It can get a passport and get all kinds of things. But the best way to discharge debt is watch my video on discharging debt and set off and what is the other one? GGT process. I suggest watching all of them, guys. Watch my playlist. Like, it'll change your whole world. Don't just like go to one or two videos. So where do we mail our bills to? Well, you mail them to the people that are asking for the payment, unless you're trying to set it off in a different way. If you're trying to set it off in a different way, then you need to watch my GGT or discharge video. Minicodes, my wife got a ticket from an Easy Pass. How should I pay? What should I do? You should pay it with Federal Reserve notes unless you want to, like, pick your battles, right? So you can do a whole private administrative process over an easy ticket, you know, a $50 thing. The worst is when they fine you for being late, like they double the ticket and all this stuff. But if you want to try to go through the alien property custodian for an Easy Pass, then that's all. By all means, go ahead and set it up. Yes, you can. Silver dollars are good for being in a Republican form of government and for setting off debts. Or sorry, not setting off debts, for having an asset of true value, money, lawful money on account, that like Republicans, like that's in the Constitution. It says the states will only use silver and gold coins for money. So that's lawful republic money when you start dealing in silver and gold. Our Grant, thank you for the TGI. Drippy Organics, thank you for the rose. Much appreciated, guys. Okay, I got a speeding ticket. My approach is not arguing with a man with a gun on the highway. Yeah, I wouldn't either. He's your servant, and he's there to inspect. So, guys, they're established to try to keep peace and inspect for any dangers, foreign or domestic, right? And once you understand how the big picture works, they're your servant, the human, that is there to make sure that you are not engaged in enemy activity. And at the end of the day, if your car is registered to the state, you pull out a license, you're so far up in jurisdiction, like you're hemmed up, like, and then you start arguing, and then he says, were you speeding? And you're like, yeah, like you just admitted, like you're done. Like the first court case is squashed. You have to go handle a whole nother process. Thanks for the sharing of the live. Thanks for the follows. Thanks for the likes. Can I become a notary as a non-citizen? So, believe it or not, a notary is an agent of the local Secretary of State, and they can actually deal in the public and the private. They have dual. They have a seal and they have a stamp. So, but when it comes to being a non-citizen, that is like one of the things that a person that is not a U.S. citizen can engage in, as certain public offices and being a notary. You have to be. It's a benefit of a U.S. citizen to be an agent of the Secretary of Corporation State. Now, you don't have to use a notary. You can use a different witness. It's all about establishing records. You can mail stuff through a witness. You can have them write an affidavit that said that they mailed something or certify something. It's all about what you can prove. And when you start having 2 or 3 witnesses, you're good. Thanks for the follow. Gary, my house was foreclosed on, but it was actually paid for, right? Yeah, but you don't hold true title to it. There's still a tax lien. The county can come and take it. Hangman, thank you for the heart. Much appreciated. SM, to convict someone, you got to prove that it was an evil act supposed to be. You can claim fraud, all the time, as long as you can prove it. At the end of the day, it's all about what you can prove. Rebecca, thanks for the share. Where do we mail our bills of exchange? I would not suggest doing a bill of exchange. I've watched a lot of people go to jail over my years of studying about that. After a grantee acceptance, you can create a trust if you want to be the grantor's position after that point. Can you talk about 508c1a? Can a normal business use this even if it's been operating in commerce normal? So a 508c1a is different than a 501c3. A 508c1a is an unregistered church type entity. Our grant, thank you for the gift. So how a lot of these not-profits get tricked is when they're established, the IRS will say, all right, now that you've got your identification number, you can request a certificate of tax exemption. And you're already tax exempt, and that's how they trick you. And by you submitting that form for request of tax exemption, then all of a sudden you get under all these rules and regulations and obligations. Now, a business that has been operating in commerce normally can always, just like the U.S. citizen, so think about it like that. Your U.S. citizen can operate in normal public commerce and be taxed all day long, or you can switch it and evolve it into not-profit, and there's no tax liability. It all depends on how the business is operating, even if it's established for profit. Now, once it's already started going down the rabbit trails, having to pay taxes and report and all that, it's going to have to keep reporting. Now, if you start receiving gifts, that's not income. You start receiving donations and stuff like that. That's not income. Hangman, thanks for the hearts. Much appreciated. Ray the Broker, can't you take control or ownership by giving notice and it not be challenged? Ownership of what? You could prove, so theoretically you could memorialize an affidavit that says that, and even though it's not true, right, because the public doesn't care, in theory, you could create an affidavit of ownership over the U.S. citizen, have it recorded and certified out of some public record, and you have proof that you are the owner, and nobody would most likely come and challenge that in any court or anything. However, at the end of the day, you don't hold true title to it. And then guess what? If you're engaged in for-profit commerce, you're still going to have to pay taxes. If you are trying to travel or drive with a license, you're still going to be bound by all the rules and obligations. So even it would be so much easier just to dock the U.S. citizen and create a trust just like it, like a national. Depends on if you want to mess with Federal Reserve notes or not. I don't suggest nationals do that, but at the end of the day, it's just easier to dock the U.S. citizen than try to go through all this crazy stuff. Truth. It's lunchtime. Yeah. This man is a wise man. Thank you. George Carlin tried to tell us. Yes, I love George Carlin. He was so awesome. Hangman, thanks you for the gun. Much appreciated. All your gifts will be used to help others. Guys, this live will be on YouTube. The audio will be on Telegram. All my social media links are linked on my profile page of TikTok. I have playlists on my profile also that can help re-educate you. I have free information on my website to help all of y'all try to be unindoctrinated. You can take and browse around. All right, so I got to go back. This thing jumps sometimes. My handle is the same on all the social medias. It's Cha Rules. Thanks, Truce, for appreciating me. I appreciate y'all. I appreciate everybody that's on here that's trying to learn and educate. Can you go somewhere and just tell them, here's my signature, where's my car? No, because, you can, but I doubt they're going to give it to you, right? They will. They'll say, here's my, that's what happens. You say, here's my signature, where's my car? And they say, yeah, right after you sign this that says you're the borrower, right? Then they won't give you the car unless you sign as the borrower. Now, the easiest thing to do is to call them out on fraud, because the CFO is actually the one that's in charge of the debt obligation. Can I use silver? Oh, what's the website? It's anointednewfoundationofpeace.life, and it's on my it's linked on my profile page of TikTok. If you click the little emblem and go on there, you'll be able to see it. 555. Can I use a silver dollar to discharge debt? Yes, and there's codes for it too. And what's cool about codes is the only reason to know codes and public policies is to know what corporations are bound by. And there are codes that basically say if you mail them $21 silver, I like $21 silver dollars because it's international stuff, but if you send them lawful money on account and they accept it and keep it, the debt is discharged. If they return it, the debt is also it means the debt doesn't exist. You can get them in a headlock no matter what with using that way. So it's up to you. All right, guys, I'm going to get near the bottom and wrap up here soon. Percent of FARA verification DOJ, the judge stated not evidentiary. I guess Fed courts thoughts. Yeah, so you got to understand the federal rules of evidence and how courtroom mechanics work. All courtrooms have their procedures and protocols posted publicly so you can read and learn everything before you start to try to go toe-to-toe with them. I got both cracking. All right, boom, boom, boom. All right, Heath, is the use of a WBAN a legitimate way to be employed without paying taxes? No. The WBAN is for a foreign entity, and then at that point, it depends on if you are supporting a for-profit system. You can be not taxed, but what happens is the employer is going to report that they paid you a certain amount to the IRS, and then the IRS is going to come after you. So it's up to you. Thanks for all the diamonds, Geocentric. I like that name. Website's on my profile page of TikTok. It's Anointed New Foundation of Peace. Chief, hey, how you doing? Police officers are foreign agents. Yeah, they're registered to the District of Columbia to do business. Off your driving abstract? What? Christine? Can someone join you? Yeah, they can, but it really takes away from the substance of what I'm trying to do. It's much better for me to try to DM people and call me or whatever. You can email me, however you want to reach out to me. Really can't prove anything. What? Do foreign trusts use regular certificates? Yeah, so it's just look up Weiss's Concise Trustee Handbook, and it'll basically outline everything on how trusts work. And if you want to go even deeper, go into Gilbert's Trust Law, and it'll explain a lot more. I have all that stuff free on my website. You can check it out. What should I do if I'm buying a house cash from a court auction and want the true title? You have to go through the Bureau of Land Management and find out if either the U.S. was acquired it after the Civil War or if it was granted by the king. And then you have to do a grantee acceptance and make sure there's no cloudy liens on the property. And then basically re-record it, and then you're good. Express the trust. If creating a trust with the same name, you can't use FRNs. Yeah, you can. It depends on how you do businesses, depending on what subject matter jurisdiction or what like games or rules you have to abide by. It's up to you. If the business didn't pay any taxes yet and has been operating in profit, can the 508c1a allow you to not pay? Yeah. It depends on if the business has like some type of contractual obligations to where it's not paying taxes for some type of reason. Typically, if it's a federally registered corporation for profit in a federal zone, it's 99% of the time has to pay taxes. And if it's not, then it depends. If it's under a certain amount, then it doesn't have to pay taxes. Or if it's doing certain types of things, there's certain ways that it's not taxed, humanitarian things and stuff like that. It'd be a lot easier for you to claim not pay taxes if you're supporting a not-for-profit type of organization. When your U.S. citizen is engaged in a for-profit, it's much, much harder. You could probably get away with a small business, but you start dealing with big ones, you're going to be out back. Thanks for the follow. Christine, I'm truly amazed that you do this for free. Oh, it's not for free. I earn, let's see, my last live I earned 6 cents. This one I'll probably get 50 cents. So I'm rolling. I appreciate all the donations. No, because I'm bound by love, not greed. Like if I wanted to charge $5 for everybody to get on my website, I'd be making thousands of dollars because I have thousands and thousands of people that go on my website. But I'm just here to try to help. It's part of my dedicated walk to try to enlighten, and by me giving to y'all are giving back to me because we're all one in this. Like I'm not supposed to charge my brother because I love all of y'all. Y'all are all me. We're all one. He's not reading. I am reading this chat. It just takes me a while to get down. It's called a allodial title. Please talk about the 21 silver rule. Yeah, so $21 puts it in international. It's like codified in all kinds of things. It's a whole nother level when you start dealing in $21 of lawful substance money of account. All right, so please talk. He's on YouTube, I assume, answering there. No, I'm not on YouTube. I'm answering. It just takes me a while, like, because I spend time on one person, and there's 70 of y'all on here, and I'm trying to get to the bottom so I can so I can wrap up. Chief Rock, is he read one? SS4 is for a foreign trust. The SS4 is basically a federal benefits program that is like a Ponzi scheme, like the George Rapp Society. If you ever look into that, Truce. Thanks for the bear, much appreciated. SM301 is called a allodial title. It starts with an A. I wouldn't get an SS4 for a foreign trust, Tough. I would get a TIN or EIN, or you don't even have to register it or get a TIN. You don't have to have a tax identification for a number for a trust unless you're trying to do like public banking. Hello, Dan. How you doing? Tell me the name of your website. It's Anointed New Foundation of Peace.life, and it's on my profile page of TikTok. All right, thanks for helping. Christine, haha. Oh, I made it. Love my energy. Thank you. I am almost at the bottom. I'm about to bounce. I've been on here for an hour and a half. Don't know who to trust when purchasing silver and gold. Any advice? Yeah, so I honestly suggest getting a friend to do it. That way, there's no liability. Like the best true way I suggest. Thanks for the cap, Joe. What I suggest is doing some type of service for a friend and then asking them to buy silver or gold and give it to you. And then you have like honorably, lawfully, 100%. Because I always try to stay above board on commerce. You don't want to start going down lies and all that stuff. I try to always stay truthful. So do like some service for somebody, dig a post hole or something, tell them to pay you in gold, and then you're good. Like that's completely out of the system and all that stuff. So, all right, guys, I'm about to wrap up. Thanks for everybody being on here, and thanks for all the gifts. Much appreciated. Love, life, and love. I'll be out of town next week, so I won't be going live probably Friday, but I'll find some time, and I'll let y'all know in my Telegram group. So that makes a good source about silver. Yeah. All right, guys. Love you. It's Friday. Enjoy. This live will be on YouTube. Audio will be on my Telegram group. My website is located on my profile page of TikTok. It's Anointed New Foundation of Peace.life. I have playlists on my profile to help re-educate if y'all want to go through them all. Free information on my website. You can DM me, email me, write me, whatever. You can call my mama. I'm there. Anyway, guys, have a great weekend. Love you. Much appreciated.